hello, 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 hello. What you guys up to, huh? Well, it's Wednesday, and what do I have to tell you? Well, it's a pretty good day today. Nice and sunny outside, and it's going pretty well. I had a weird funk yesterday going on. It was very bizarre, I tell you. Okay, I start off the morning, you know, whistling, doing my little humming along, being happy, and everything was good. And I went to see my first patient, and when I was leaving, the patient's wife walked me out to my car, and she told me some things that was really just nice, and telling me that I'm supporting her husband in such a way that she sees huge improvements, and just it was just beautiful. What she said, it was very warm and nice, and you know, she gave me this huge hug, and I was just like, oh my god. When I left there, I was beaming. I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, that was pretty cool. And I'm not a person who regularly, like, I require a pat on the back to keep going, you know. I'm just kind of like do, you know, but every once in a while you hear something positive and you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. So I was excited about that. And then as I'm visiting with my second patient, I start to get a phone call and emails, and they're leaving voicemail, and I'm just like, great, what's going on, you know. And it's actually the office in Colorado who I contract out my services to. And it was the case manager for the patient I had seen, you know, early in the morning. And so I listened to the voicemail. I'm reading the emails as I just finished wrapping stuff up with my second patient. And they're just like, we need this ASAP and all this stuff, you know. They needed a comprehensive assessment done on the patient I saw that morning. And I was just like, darn, I just saw them, you know. And I didn't respond to the email immediately because I wanted to figure out, well, you know, what can I do to make this happen? And basically, the email that they sent me had an attachment to it, and so I needed to print something. When I went to my next patient's house, they were really cool, you know. They were just like, oh, you know, go back in the back and use the computer and print up whatever you need, or, you know, whatever. And I had my laptop with me, but here's one thing I have noticed. So I have an MacBook, and I do have a Microsoft program on there. I have Office because I need to have Word and PowerPoint and all these other things, you know, and Excel. And so I have the latest Office version, and they sent me attachments which were Word documents, but they were in the DOC Word document, which is the older version. The newer version is DOCX, okay? And on my MacBook, when I open a DOC, occasionally, but usually and typically from the Office, the format is changed such that I can't read anything because it's on top of itself, you know, like the format's all messed up. And I'm like, I can't print this document and use it. I can't even open it. I don't know what it, you know. But so when I got to my patient's house, you know, they had a PC and everything came up and it printed nicely and everything's good. So now I have the document in my hand, and I'm thinking, well, I could call them and see if they'll let me see them, because they were actually on my way home. And I thought, God, I hope they're home, you know. And so I called them up, and they're like, sure, come over, because there was something weird that happened. This missing document, I actually had a heads up the day before, because the case manager called me and said, do you have these documents with you? And I said, I have nothing. I've turned them all into the office in Albuquerque, and they wanted something refaxed. And then they found out that that document didn't actually exist. And so they're panicking. Oh my God, you've got to do this now. And it's like, oh, are you serious? Oh, I just saw them, you know. And I didn't want to go through the whole drama of explaining, I just saw them, I'm on patient, you know, all this stuff. They typically, basically, when they sent me the email, they said, when can you see this patient, or when are you seeing this patient? But the whole ASAP and that, you know, I was like, well, I just saw them, which means I wouldn't see them again for another week, because that patient is a weekly patient. I do see some twice a week, but not that one. So anyway, everything turned out well, because I saw the patient happened to be home, and they were gonna leave too, so I was lucky. They were home. I did the comprehensive visit, comprehensive assessment, which were a few extra things in addition to what I had done earlier. So it was really no big deal. Then I'm on my way home. But on my way home, I'm thinking, well, you know, I really do not believe that this was my fault. And I hate that I do that, number one. Like, try to figure out fault. Fault didn't really matter, except that I think if it was my fault, I wanted to figure out how I screwed it up, okay? Why wasn't this document done, or whatever. So, anyway, I realized that it really was not my fault, because they never emailed that document to me. I did not have it. I searched through my email, it did not exist. So anyway, as I'm finishing up my reports for the comprehensive and all this stuff, well, it took me a while. I wasn't finishing it. I was in the middle of it. I get a phone call, or I had a phone call that I didn't notice when I was driving, or whatever it was. So now I'm getting more phone calls and emails about another patient with another case manager, kind of with the same circumstances except worse. And then this time I'm starting to go, shoot, you know, I've done something here. What is it? How can this happen 2 in one day? I look up, and this one I did have an email on. She said, I emailed you on January the 6th. I was like, ooh, that was my birthday. You know, I emailed you, and I looked it up, and sure enough, she did email me, and I had the document, and I saved the document with the date that I visited them. But I cannot find unfortunately, the document that I have saved, it's blank. So I don't know. I do not know why that happened, and I'm not certain. But it obviously boiled down to, it was my fault, okay? So then I proceed to beat myself up. Do you guys do that? Like when you make a mistake all day long? I couldn't get through my all day long. Now I'm exaggerating. I only heard about it that evening when I was trying to do my reports, but it bothered me the whole entire time. So then I have to stop and say, stop this. Are you just going to beat yourself up, or are you going to figure out how you don't make this mistake again? So the problem is, at this time, this document should have been received sometime in February. Well, they're going to receive it today, but earlier in February, this person should have been renewed every 6 months. My patients are all renewed through the government, which allows them to be on this program, okay? And that person expired already. I mean, they should have already renewed, which means I don't know how I'm getting paid, because they really shouldn't even be paying me. But because he's not contracted to do he doesn't have service with us, and it was my fault. So I feel really bad about that. And so I'm getting it done, taken care of today. But my point of this whole, I was happy, then I was sad, then I was happy, and then today was a really good day. But, and I'm on my way now to see that patient. But, it just got me kind of thinking about the thinking process. I think it's okay to figure out if something's your fault, if you're going to learn something from it and not, like, repeat it again. But the purpose of beating yourself up because you make a mistake, and we all make mistakes, it's just that I hope that I didn't, with any company that you work with, there's always, like, the bottom line. And I think if I affected the company's bottom line, this will be something that will be frowned upon, and they will not be happy that I made a mistake, okay? So that's one thing that I find a little bit upsetting. But then the second thing is, I'm just going to resolve it. I'm going to take care of it. And then I'm going to start asking my case managers, when do these people renew? And I'm going to put it on a calendar, and I will will keep track of it myself. And, you know, if I have to give them a nudge, like I didn't receive the paperwork or whatever, I'm just going to have to do that. But understand, one of them definitely was my fault, and one of them was the case manager's fault. But I'm like, how does this happen, like, one day after the other? So anyway, I'm sort of over it. Obviously, you can see it's still lingering a bit, but I'm really trying to get over it and trying to figure out what I can do so it doesn't happen again. But anyway, what do you guys think of my hair? It's so long. I was supposed to, well, I thought that my sister and I were going to Santa Fe this past weekend to get it cut, but just didn't happen. So when we scheduled an appointment, I think it's March the 3rd or something like that. So it's not this weekend, it's next weekend. I have like this whole lion's mane thing going on. It's like all bushy and curly, and yeah, it's interesting. My trip on the road today has been kind of weird too. Like a little while ago, it was just before I started filming, there was a small pickup truck turned upside down in the median, and I was like, oh, looks like someone's going too fast, you know. And then there's been people, they were doing road work, but it was very strange because they had one lane closed, and we were all in the other lane, and they were doing the work right in between the two lanes, and there was just a dotted line, and there were workers out there, and I was like, oh God, you know. I think they should have made people stop or slow down to like 25, man, or something. It was kind of crazy. Anyway, everything else is going pretty good, except, yeah, well, I have to tell you guys about my February project, but I think that I'll just wait and do that in a separate video. And my March project coming up and all this good stuff. But anyway, getting over it. Drama. So I will talk to you guys later. Have a good day. Have a great day. Bye.